All right, I want you to imagine a project that's so heavily automated it needs its own special rulebook. And get this, it's not just for the human developers, it's for their AI collaborators too. We're going to dive into a really fascinating case study here that totally flips the script on how we build software when both people and machines are writing the code.
So the core idea here, it's a little mind-bending to be honest. You see, the files you might look at in the code repository, they aren't always the real source of truth. A lot of them are just the output of all these automated processes. The actual truth of the project lives in the commands and scripts that create those files, and often it's AI assistants that are helping maintain the whole system. This is a huge shift in how you have to think about a code base.
So this brings up a massive question, right? If you can't just open a file and edit it like you normally would, how does anyone, whether it's a person or an AI, actually contribute to this thing without just breaking it all? How do you keep control? How do you maintain your sanity? Well, that's the puzzle we're about to solve.
Okay, so the solution is pretty clever, but before we get to that, we really need to understand the project we're talking about. This case study is all about a super sophisticated financial tool called the Silver Market Analysis web app. Now, from the outside, for the people who actually use it, we're talking long-term investors, they call themselves silver stackers, and financial analysts, this thing is an absolutely critical tool. It helps them figure out the right signals for when to buy, hold, or even sell physical silver. And it's doing this using a ton of data and some very specific forecast models.
So the big takeaway here is that this is no toy project. We're talking about a really heavy-duty application. It's got multiple dashboards, dozens of super complex charts, predictive models, the whole shebang. This is one of those high-stakes environments where consistency and accuracy mean absolutely everything.
And all that complexity, well, it leads to what's known as the maintainer's dilemma. This is the core problem for any developer who has to work on this app.
Okay, picture this. You're a developer on this project and you find a tiny bug. Maybe a single number is wrong in some data file. What's your first instinct? You just open the file, change the number, and commit the fix. Easy peasy, right?
Nope, not on this project. That simple little fix you made, it's going to get completely wiped out. The system's automation is so powerful, it'll just regenerate that file from its true source. And poof, your hard work is just gone. It's like trying to fight a river. You're just not going to win.
And that one tiny mistake can set off this whole chain reaction of problems. First, your edit just disappears. Then, automated tests start failing, maybe in places that seem totally unrelated. Or even worse, everything looks perfect on your local machine, but the live site is completely broken. You've basically introduced a little bit of chaos that the system is specifically designed to hunt down and get rid of.
So how in the world do you solve a problem like that? Well, they came up with a really brilliant idea. It's a system of organization that gives every single user, and yep, every AI, the exact map they need to get around. They call it the 3 documentation lanes.
Think about it like this. You wouldn't hand a passenger on a plane the full engineering schematics for the jet engine, right? And you wouldn't give the mechanic the little safety card from the seatback pocket. It's the same logic here. This project creates totally different instruction manuals for its different audiences.
And this right here is the big aha moment. This is the whole secret. Lane A, that's for the machines. It's the full library of super dense, super precise technical specs that the AI and all the automation can understand perfectly. Then you've got Lane B. That's for the end users, the silver stackers. It's got clear, helpful articles explaining what all the charts actually mean. And then there's Lane C. Now this one's for us, the human developers, and it's not the whole library. It's a deliberately short, carefully selected welcome packet, just enough to get you started without totally overwhelming you.
Okay, but that brings up another question, doesn't it? If most of the heavy-duty technical docs are in Lane A and they're written for machines, how does a human developer even begin? Like, where's the front door?
Well, the answer isn't some crazy complicated map. It's actually a set of very carefully chosen doors. There are exactly 5 of them. 5 specific entry points designed just for people.
They're called the human maintainer exceptions. And what a great name, right? These are 5 key documents that intentionally break that machine-first rule we just talked about. They are written and maintained specifically for human beings, using plain English to guide you into the rest of this complex system.
And they don't just throw them at you, they even give you a suggested reading order. This is what turns a big abstract policy into a real step-by-step journey.
You start with the big picture rules, then you learn about the main tool you'll be using as a developer, and then you dive into the nitty-gritty of the automations and the knowledge base the AI uses. It's a super clear path to actually understanding what's going on.
All right, so we've got the theory down, right? We have these separate lanes for docs and 5 friendly doors for humans. But what does that actually look like when you're working on it day to day? Well, that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, the developer's very own mission control center.
This is where it all comes together. Everything we've been talking about, it all converges in one single practical place, an in-browser hub they call Dev Mode. This is basically the daily dashboard for anyone maintaining the project.
So Dev Mode is pretty much mission control for a human developer. It gives you direct links to all 5 of those human maintainer exceptions we just talked about. You can think of it like an interactive, clickable version of that reading list we saw. And it's got practical tools too, like a button to update all the automated data on your own machine. It's what makes this incredibly complex system feel, well, not just navigable, but actually manageable.
You know, when you step back, this whole approach treats the project's AI less like a simple tool and more like a real collaborator, a teammate. The entire system is built on that idea. Machine-readable documentation is the default, and human-friendly docs are the special, deliberate exception. And that leaves us with a really big question for the future, doesn't it? If AI really is becoming our collaborator, should we start designing our projects for our AI teammates first?